Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar with Adam Smith Business School, University of Glasgow. My name is Zornica and I'll be the moderator of this online session on behalf of the MBA selection platform Unimai. In today's webinar, you're going to find out more about the Glasgow MBA program and its potential to transform your career. If you'd like to read more about the program, I'm going to shortly paste in the chat its official webpage, as well as the school's profile on Unimai, where you can do a quick test and see how well the program matches your individual criteria. I would like to thank you all for joining us today and to welcome our panelists. From the Adam Smith Business School, we have David Levinson, MBA Careers Manager, and Myri Dixon, Student Recruitment and Marketing Coordinator. With us today are also 4 Glasgow MBA alumni, Daniel Flexington, Snow Liu, Esther Witty, and Claire Donnelly. We will start with a brief presentation of the advantages of the Glasgow MBA and continue with the discussion in which the alumni will share with us what was their academic experience and how it contributed to their professional development. Finally, we'll have an open Q&A session. Your questions are more than welcome, so if and whenever you have any, please type them down in the chat box or the Q&A section, and we'll make sure to address them accordingly at the end of the webinar. Now, I would like to give the word to David and Myri.
Great, thank you very much, Zornica, for that welcome, and welcome everybody who's joining us today. I'm David. As you've heard, I'm the MBA Careers Manager here at Glasgow. I'm going to do a short presentation today, just for around 10 to 15 minutes, and Myri will come in, my colleague, and add a little bit. And then the focus of today really is to hear from some of our alumni, our guests who have joined us here today for a bit of a Q&A. So first of all, let me just share my screen. Hopefully everybody can see the slide there. So again, welcome. It's good of you to join us today. As you know, the focus is today a little bit about our MBA at the Adam Smith Business School. Those are our titles, and we can certainly follow up and share these slides with anyone that would like them who's attending today as well. So just a few thoughts at the start. I'm going to talk a bit about the sort of strengths and advantages of our university, our school, and our MBA. And some of those elements are our triple accreditation that we have as a business school, the legacy that we have of Adam Smith, as you know, we're the Adam Smith Business School, and the legacy of Adam Smith is important to us. And next year we'll actually celebrate the 300th anniversary of the birth of Adam Smith, who I'm sure you know is considered the father of economics, who's both studied and taught at the University of Glasgow. And as you may know, we've got a very long history as a university, having been established in 1451. But we're a modern business school, and we're consistently ranked well in both European and global rankings. And I think our ethos as a school is based around world-class research, but very applied and practical teaching. So that's a very brief overview of what some of the things we're going to cover briefly today. So if you're thinking about the Adam Smith Business School and you want to know more about us and our strengths, those are a few facts that I think we would like to highlight. We see ourselves as one of the leading European schools. We're consistently ranked in the top 100 business schools. We have the triple accreditation that I mentioned, which is a kind of mark of our quality and puts us in quite a small group of triple accredited schools globally. We have a great location here in Glasgow, and particularly the west end of Glasgow, which is a very cosmopolitan, quite a beautiful environment, lots of parks, and a nice, safe and interesting environment to live and study in as well. The school itself has very strong links with industry, and we're strengthening those all the time. And that gives good opportunities for the MBA, which I'll come on to a little bit later. And I mentioned our research-led but practice-based teaching as an ethos in the school as well. The accreditations that I've mentioned, the AACSB, AMBA, and EQUIS triple accreditation badge is important to us. And we have other awards and accreditations across the school as well, such as the United Nations Prime Award and the Athena Swan Bronze Award for gender diversity as well, which is also important to us. And that's a little bit about the school and the university's history, but I know you're all interested in an MBA. So these are some facts about our MBA that we focus on. Certainly, we like to maintain a small but diverse cohort. So over the last number of years, we've had between 30 and 40 students, roughly. This year, we actually have 42 students. And that's about the maximum number that we look for in our cohort, because we like to have that diversity of nationalities and backgrounds on the program. And I'll show you more of that in a moment. I've talked a bit about ranking, the top 100 MBAs in the Which MBA review of 2021. Our ethos is one-to-one support, and that's why we like to have a small class size as well, that our lecturers and professors are available to people. You're not just an anonymous student in a very large class. People will get to know you well. My role particularly is as the careers manager, so I'm the kind of dedicated to the MBA program here at Glasgow. And part of what I deliver is professional development and employability, or PDE, which you get an award for alongside the MBA certificate at the end. And we do work hard to provide those kind of networking opportunities with prospective employers, with business leaders and guest speakers and alumni. And even with other MBA students from top schools, we do some collaboration with Edinburgh and Strathclyde, where our MBA students meet a couple of joint events each year as well, which is a good feature of the program here. A bit about our current cohorts that I mentioned. So as I said, we've got 42 students this year. They come from 12 nationalities, which is usually quite typical for our MBA class. We have slightly more male than female students this year, 23 to 19. Actually, the last few years, it's been the other way around, where we have slightly more women than men, typically on the MBA. This year, we have average experience of about 8 years after graduation, which means that on average, the age of the class is about early 30s. And that age spread in a typical MBA class is usually about late 20s through to 40 plus, even sometimes 50 plus on the MBA. So very diverse. And as you can see, our students have experience across 12 distinct industry categories as well. So it is an opportunity to really network and grow your professional network. Even though the cohort is small, it's very diverse. Something about the MBA structure, just briefly, the headings along the top, we like to think that we produce graduates, and you'll hear from some of them shortly, who are enlightened, engaged, and enterprising, and that's the kind of skill sets that we're looking to develop. And we do that through delivering some of the core content and also the soft skills that we have a focus on, and the professional development that we have a focus on alongside the course content. And some of that course content, you can see there, the core learning experiences. We start with a course that's quite unique to Glasgow, decision-making under uncertainty, which our alumni might say more about later. And then we move on to business strategic management, which has a lot of different courses under that heading. So financial information and analysis, managing resources, which is operations and HR, marketing, strategic management, global economy, and then strategic foresight is a semester 2 course that's guest speaker based. So you hear from lots of industry leaders coming into the campus. The specialization is where you can choose electives, and you can choose from quite a wide and growing list of electives each year under headings of strategy, finance, marketing, entrepreneurship, and international business. Some of our MBAs elect to do a summer school called ESAM, which takes place with other MBA students from around the world. And it's on a very intensive 2-week program in June. And that actually counts for 2 of your elective choices if you choose to do that. And finally, the MBA, as most MBAs do, end with a kind of capstone consultancy project in teams. It's actually more than a week. It really stretches to 2 weeks. So you'd work in groups of 4 or 5 students with a live client. So you can really practice those kind of consultancy skills to apply some of the learning and models from the MBA to a live problem. And then you move on to your individual project. And this year we've added a range of project opportunities to the MBA. So it used to just be a traditional research-based dissertation, and our alumni who are here today all took part in that. But now you can also choose from different pathways. That could be an industry pathway where you work with, again, like a live client as a consultant on a project. Could be a startup pathway if you want to explore a business startup, or a challenge pathway, which is not just working with one specific client, but maybe looking at a certain industry and the challenges that that's facing. So lots of opportunities to kind of shape the MBA in the way that you want to do so. Employability, briefly, I know that everyone considering an MBA, we know it's a big investment and people look for a return on that investment. And generally our employability stats are strong. So for those that tell us that we're looking for seeking employment at the end of the MBA, 83% were in employment in full within 3 months from our latest statistics that we've got published. The salary figures, I'm less concerned about the actual figure, because I think the figure of salary very much depends on where someone's working geographically and their level of experience as well. You'd expect someone with 20 years experience to come in at a higher salary than someone with 5 years. But the salary uplift figure is important, and that most recently shows a 26% salary uplift post-MBA to pre-MBA. So that's reassuring on the return of investments from our MBA. So we like to call the Glasgow MBA an opportunity to transform your future. So to kind of summarize what I've been saying, there are lots of opportunities to build your network, to get to meet guest speakers. There are lots of social events, and we're having the opportunity to do more of that now that there are no restrictions here in the UK and in Glasgow. We plan to do more of the social activity again on campus next year. We take part in global case competitions. We have some international travel opportunity that's coming back, and we have those strong connections with industry across some of the projects that I mentioned, and also alumni mentoring. Some of our alumni here have mentored students on the program. We visit industry, and we do have 2 or 3 industry visits each year as well. Before we pass on to our alumni shortly, we've also asked our current students what they like about the MBA, and we thought we'd share with you 2 or 3 quotes. So first of all, Lindsay is from Malaysia originally, and she highlighted the fact that she took part in the international case competition representing the Glasgow MBA at the John Molson Business School in Canada, and found that a great opportunity to get involved to boost her confidence and practice public speaking as well. Shubhendu, who's from India, mentions courses, some specific courses like strategic management, adding a lot of value. And also the alumni mentoring there has been a great match for him, and that's been a plus. And finally, Siddharth, also from India this year, has given us a great quote here about everything he's experienced in the class and with peers is a great learning experience, and talks about the number of academic and co-curricular activities really adding icing to the cake. So a great quote there from Sid as well. And I'm just going to pass over now to Mary, who's going to talk through a couple of practical points about applying to the MBA. So Mary, if you'd like to come in.
Thanks, David. So I'm just going to summarise some key details you'll need if you're thinking about applying for the Glasgow MBA. So in terms of our fees, the international EU fees are on the screen there, and that is for the current intake. So this September 2022, the fees are confirmed each year when applications open in October. So if you're thinking of applying for a future intake, you would need to check the fees at that time. We do have some partial MBA scholarships available, up to £18,000, and these are available to exceptional applicants, and there's a separate application required for the scholarship. We also have, the university has a number of other funding options and scholarships. Some of them are external, some of them are internal to the university, and we've got a scholarships database on the website where you can check what you might be eligible for depending on your circumstances. So the scholarship that's on the screen there is the Glasgow MBA scholarship. Another example is the 30% club. scholarship, which we have for outstanding females, and I think there's one awarded every year. In terms of our entry requirements and what the MBA panel looks for in applicants, our applicants must have a 2-1 honours degree or equivalent, and what is really important is the work experience. So the MBA panel are really interested in finding applicants who have a minimum of 3 years managerial work experience. This year, I think David said the average is about 8 years, but 3 years is the absolute minimum. And that would be assessed in your personal statement, your CV, and in the interview before being accepted. For those who don't have English as their first language, you'd be required to meet our English language requirements. So we take IELTS and other equivalent tests, and the overall score would need to be 6.5 and no less than 6.5 in writing and speaking. And in terms of what you need to do to apply, there's an online application form, which is on our website, and you would be required to submit a personal statement, a reference letter, and a CV. And we advise applicants to really place emphasis on your work experience and your managerial experience on your CV and personal statement, so that you stand out. And if you pass the initial stage, you'd then be invited for an online interview with David or the MBA director. So I think that's everything there, David. And if you want to find out more about the MBA itself, the structure, further details about the entry requirements, how to apply, you can find all of that on our website, and the link is on the screen just now.
Great, thank you very much, Mary. And there's an email address on the screen there as well, that any questions that arise from today or any time, please do keep in touch with us as well. So thank you, Mary. Let me just now move to the next part of this webinar, which is the main feature, which is our alumni. So we mentioned at the start, we have 4 alumni joining us here today. And I would just like to ask all 4 to introduce themselves. So maybe we'll go around in this order. So we've got Esther, who graduated in 2017. We'll then hear from Claire, graduated in 2018, and then Snow from 2020, and also Daniel from 2020. So I think what I'll do is stop sharing now, and we'll go back to the speaker view. And can I ask Esther to, did I say Esther first to start? And just as a short introduction, Esther, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, David. So hi, good afternoon to everyone. I am Esther, former MBA student at the University of Glasgow. As David told you, I graduated in 2017, so it's almost 5 years ago. Before I talk about my background, I want to thank you for the opportunity to meet you today and share my experience with you. I hope you will find the information valuable. However, I'm happy to answer any questions you will have at the end of this webinar, or as alternative, I'm happy to be contacted on LinkedIn too. So a little bit about my background. I'm a digital marketer with 15 years of experience in planning, executing, and optimizing B2C and B2B demand generation and engagement programs in biotechnology, healthcare, and other industries. I'm passionate about helping organizations to have new conversations. I'm a Hungarian. So before my MBA, I lived and worked in Hungary. I worked in different marketing positions at different levels, predominantly in the hospitality and commercial retail industries. Moving to the UK was a family decision. It seems to be highly beneficial for my husband. So I had to think about how transfer my skills and experiences to the UK and rebuild my career quickly here. Besides the language skill, I needed a valuable degree to compete with locals. So I reviewed many options from master's degree in international marketing to MBA. So finally, I applied for 2 different MBA programs and received offers from both institutes. One offer was from the University of Glasgow Adam Smith Business School, So I visited both universities, talked to the MBA team, the MBA directors, and decided to accept the offer from the Glasgow University. I think this is a highly supportive institute with a fantastic alumnus. The university does not only offer a valuable qualification for you, but it gives you lifetime access to the ever-growing Glasgow family, which obviously can be used for further networking and business opportunities. Compared to other universities, Glasgow is more like a family, and I think it's a huge advantage. So your MBA journey won't end on graduation day. You will always have these people around you whenever and for whatever reason you need them. And I think it's unique. It's a unique and good benefit that you can get from the university. So I choose Glasgow. My MBA program was very practical. We had a lot of case studies from the real world, real business cases. We had group work and had the chance for one-to-one discussion with lecturers whenever we needed. And we enjoyed good support from our dedicated career manager when the time arrived to apply for jobs. Basically, I graduated from the MBA program with the real job opportunity and started to work in the UK almost immediately. I think I was quite lucky because I could not only change the country, but move to a different industry, which was my aim ultimately. So my first job in the UK was offered by a biotech company that designed and manufactured artificial cell culture and bio-ink materials for academic and clinical research. I worked as a global marketing manager and built a cost-effective, predominantly online marketing practice with in-house management capabilities to drive market tractions and further investment. I've worked there for 3 years and left the company to develop and lead the marketing effort of a health data analytics enterprise. At the time, I was not really looking for a job, but based on my experience and qualifications, I was approached by a headhunter, and the opportunity seems to be very exciting. So I decided to take this opportunity and accepted the offer. So currently, I work as a digital director for a global governing body and institute, which supports C-level executives to become effective strategic decision makers of companies like my first biotech employer. So it's about me quickly. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Esther. Thanks a lot. Let's move to Claire next. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Claire.
Thanks, David. Thanks for this opportunity. Hi, everyone. So my name's Claire Donnelly, and just to take you through pre-MBA, MBA, and post, I'll try and keep it short. Sometimes I could ramble, but here we go. So I'm Australian, living in Glasgow, and I was very fortunate to come into the MBA through living here. And, you know, as David knows, I used to look out my window and see the Spire Tower, and I was like, I need to go there. Anyway, so my background, I was an emergency nurse on the front line in Australia for about 10 years. And then I really wanted to travel. So instead of like doing the backpacking thing, I joined a international airline called Emirates. And on that journey, I actually met my husband, my Glaswegian husband, and I've ended up coming here. And in that time, I joined an American startup in medical devices. So I have a little bit of a unique background with the MBA, as I actually worked full time, but I said, don't worry guys, I won't work full time, but I worked full time, and I also did the full-time MBA. And it was a nightmare, but it was brilliant because I got to actually combine, like, there's this term, real world experience, real world evidence. I got to actually, you know, deploy what I was learning in the actual company that I was working in. So I was super grateful for that, but I wouldn't recommend it, but here we are. So what happened after that is I ended up, it was like on heat. I ended up graduating. The company that I ended up working, because of my MBA, I became part of the senior leadership team, and I ended up doing all of the commercial models for the international markets. And with that, I was able to secure a really big deal, or we were able to secure a really big deal, and we ended up getting acquired. I went on the mergers and acquisition train and ended up in this really large corporation. That was another really big medtech company. And because I'd been in the senior leadership of this company, I ended up going into that company, and that's when I really got my training wheels on and was able to actually open up the textbook. So something that I really wanted to know when I was studying, because I'm not an academic person, and I was always thinking, oh, I'm never going to pass this assignment. You know, I was always so worried about it. I'd be doing it on planes. I flew to Australia once to do a conference, do a talk, and I did the management accounting assignment. It was really hectic. So I actually ended up using some of those books, especially strategy, the international marketing, and what else did I end up using? The management accounting was really cool because I ended up going into the mergers and acquisition team of this large company. I've since left that because I've got the experience that I've needed it, and I find that my skill set's really good for scale up and startup environments, and that's where I'm in now in the digital health sector. So I hope what I've given today can help you in some of your decisions. Thanks, David.
Thanks very much, Claire. That's great. Let's come to Snow next.
Thank you, David. Hi, everyone. I'm Snow, and I came from China, and glad to have this chance to meet you all. And I graduated from University of Glasgow in 2020, the COVID year. So that is a very hard year for everyone, especially for me. Before I came to the UK, I worked for an advertising and media agency for almost 10 years. I worked for almost the top agencies such as the Top Publicis, Dentsu, and the WPP Group. Then I left China as a strategy director in 2019. Then I came here for my MBA study. In my past few years, and I served several global clients like Unilever, L'Oreal, P&G, which is really focused on the FMCG area. So I gained a lot of experience in China. But after I came to the UK, I think it's a really tough year for me. So it's really hard for me to find a job in the UK. But luckily, now I worked for one of the agencies in WPP UK office, and I started as a digital media manager in London office, and just got a promotion this month as a associate strategy director. I think the MBA has definitely broadened my horizon and also helped me to understanding of the international business. Before I came to the UK, China is a very huge market. We don't need to learn a lot of international business. When I was in China, I never think about any other countries, and I never think about any other cultures, and even the basic demand of the people in any other countries, I don't mind. But after I came to the UK, and especially I met my classmates in the MBA, and this makes me to realize what's the difference between China and the UK and the rest of the world. And then I learned from them with some more inclusive mind and also the critical thinking. To be honest, I think my classmates taught me to have how to build more perspectives to see the world, and how to think in a different position, and how to build the strategy as well. So it's really meaningful for me and to study in the UK, especially in the Glasgow University, because I met a lovely person here. And the knowledge, speaking to the knowledge, I think the most important courses is the decision-making under uncertainty. Actually, that is a very hard course, and when we start our MBA, because of a lot of psychology things, and everything is too difficult to understand at the beginning. But after like 2 years later, and when I enter into the job, and I realized that is a very important course for me. And in the reality, we always need to think about how to make the decision, and under the pressure, how to predict the risk, and also manage the risk in a very low rate. So that is a very important course and for me, and I would like to say it changed my life a lot. And another course is related to the marketing area, because I'm working in the marketing and media area. So I think the strategy and the marketing courses is really valued, really valuable for me. Yeah, and so generally speaking, and I think Glasgow MBA helped me a lot and to explore my own journey and also explore myself and in the world or in the UK, and also helped me to become a better now in the future. I think it's a very good opportunity and to study here and to meet the people and to learn from the excellent professor as well. Yeah, welcome to the University of Glasgow, and I would say you will not be never regret. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you very much, Snow. So finally, just for the introductions part, and we'll pick up on some of the things that Snow has mentioned there in a moment, but I'll come back to the introductions. And finally, Daniel, who also graduated in 2020. Daniel.
Yeah, so hi, everyone. I'm a management consultant and I graduated with the class of 2020, so same as Snow. Prior to joining the MBA, I'd built over 15 years of experience in cross-sector technical and business environments. So I started my career back in 2004, and that was in engineering environment, where I spent about 7.5 years with a multinational company focusing on the delivery of nuclear submarine maintenance programs. So as you can imagine, very highly regulated industry, strong project stakeholder management skills were essential to meeting, non-movable strict deadlines set by the Royal Navy. So 2011, I was young. The oil sector was in it was growing. So I switched industries and began working in the oil and gas sector. And I spent around 8 years working for the largest oil field service company in the world, which is called Schlumberger. I progressed very quickly from the offshore field environment into the office environment and soon held a mid to senior management role. And it was here that I really started to develop my leadership, my managerial skills, and also I created a 5-year plan that would eventually end with an MBA from the University of Glasgow. So in 2019, I decided to leave oil and gas and set up my own management consultancy firm. And this was targeting major oil and gas clients across Aberdeen and Scotland for the 6 months prior to taking the year out to complete my MBA. After graduating, I always knew I wanted to continue that career in management consulting. And I knew this around midway through the MBA program. And it was then I decided I was going to relocate to London and pursue consulting opportunities there. So since being here, I've continued developing my career with 2 different companies. Initially, I joined a very small firm, which focused mainly on change and transformation. But being very small, it had limited opportunity. And I knew quickly that it wasn't the one for me, which is always good. The market is very hot right now, so it wasn't long before I got around 3 or 4 other offers from larger companies. And this time I changed to a much larger, again, multinational firm, which I'd had so much success with earlier in my career. And this offered me, opportunities that I was wanting within the energy sector, focusing on strategy, on operations. So it was all areas where I'd worked previously and built up my career. So despite having a background in energy, I have been fortunate to experience a much wider range of sectors, which I had no previous experience in. A lot of students that I mentored just now ask me, I've come from a specific industry, but I want to learn about different ones after the MBA. So I actually started out as a generalist, which gave me, a great opportunity to work with clients in sectors such as TMT, which is technology, media, telecommunications, the health sector for the NHS, and also in utility companies such as water. So despite having no previous experience in any of those sectors before joining the MBA, it was the skills that I developed during the program and the MBA qualification itself on my CV that really helped me to leverage the existing career experience I had and allow me to then redirect my career the way I wanted it and adapt to any new changes or situations that came up in that successfully. So why did I choose Glasgow? Well, I chose to study at the University of Glasgow for several reasons. The first one is the university itself. You know, being from Glasgow, I'm a little biased. So, you know, I was always aware of the business school and its reputation for excellence. But it was really when I visited the campus, you know, I got a feel for the place. I met the MBA team face to face prior to accepting my offer that really strengthened that decision. Second was word of mouth. You know, growing up, I had a lot of friends from school who went straight into studying at the university. So witnessing their journey, hearing all about it, you know, really gave me confidence I was making the right decision by picking Glasgow. And then third was my own desire. I wanted an MBA program that had a very small cohort in comparison to some of the larger universities, because this would then provide me with that opportunity, not only to study the academic side of things, but to get to know my colleagues on a professional and on a personal level. You know, a very valuable part of the MBA journey is learning about each other, forging new relationships that will last even after the program finishes. And even now, you know, 2 years after completing the program, I still keep in regular contact with most of my classmates, despite where they are in the world or what they're doing, what time zone they're in. And so far, I've leveraged my network in so many ways. I've attended classmates' weddings. You know, I've discussed challenges I'm facing at work with them. You know, how would they overcome it? Do they have any input? And I've also asked for their advice when I'm applying for jobs that are perhaps very ambitious, or any job offers that I've received or accepted. You know, have they done the role before? Is it in their sector? You know, and do they have any advice to offer? So overall, you know, a great experience for me.
That's great. Thank you so much, Daniel. Well, we have around 20 minutes or so left, up to 20 minutes. So we're going to move to a bit more of a Q&A. And I would like to just encourage everyone in the audience to use the chat function as well today. And please type any questions or comments that you'd like to make into the chat, and we'll come to those. But maybe we could just start with a couple of other issues first. So Snow, you mentioned, for example, that DMUU, decision-making under uncertainty, is quite a distinctive element of the Glasgow MBA curriculum. And I know all of you have only done one MBA at Glasgow, but thinking back to your time with us, are there any other observations any of you would like to make about what you think is possibly distinctive or different about Glasgow? Because a lot of MBA applicants are considering a choice of different schools. What would you say makes Glasgow unique or stand out in some way? Anyone would like to come in on that point?
Generally speaking, I think the campus is very unique, and that is a very special thing, and for outstanding things, and rather than the rest of the university, and also I think the people. I like the sentences in the Glasgow. People make Glasgow. So I always believe that. So the people in Scotland is very nice, and they are not arrogant as English people. so every people and helpfully and to try to and help with us, and especially for our non-native speaker. And the third one is, I think, the practical things, and I really care about the practical ratio is much better than the academic area. And as I learn about the other universities, and they are more focused on the academic area, so they lack of the opportunity and to do a lot of practical things. But compared to the University of Glasgow, we got a lot of courses and to do the consulting firm and also a consulting project, and also we have a lot of chance and to work together with as a small group, because for any other universities, they got a huge numbers of the classmates. So this is not good, and for the classmates to do the communication and to do the interaction. But in our in Glasgow University, and we have a very smaller group. So we have a very intensive interaction with each of the classmates, and we build a very good relationship as well. So I think that is the strongest thing and for Glasgow University, and I hope it's useful. Yeah.
Thanks very much. No, anyone else on the panel have any other reflections on what made Glasgow stand out? Daniel?
Yeah, so pretty much the same as what Snow said regarding the campus and the social scene as well, which is important, but also the people. What I found most impressive was just the experience of the lectures. You know, all experts in their field. Some of them are ex-Boston Consulting Group. You know, some of them have multiple degrees at different levels across, you know, very wide range of subjects. But a lot of them bring real world experience, which I liked coming from, you know, an industry and a practical background. It wasn't just all academics, you know, they could relate it back into, you know, industry, which is what I really understood very easily. So, you know, having that link between the academia and the real world experience, I felt set us up very well when we came to graduate and then move back into the workplace.
Great, thanks, Daniel. Any other reflections? Esther or Claire? Esther. Claire, sorry,
ahead,
first,
Esther.
Claire.
No. Yeah, obviously campus people, lecturers. I mean, it's really, do you know what's really nice? We're all in different cohorts and we're actually saying the same thing. So yeah, like for me, it doesn't matter where you go in the world, you know, it's the experience that is what you remember. And, you know, the fact that you can like go back, flick at a textbook, like Daniel said, I still talk to my cohort as well, and I'll be like, look at this, there's like a spreadsheet guru, so I'll go to her. It's brilliant. And so you build that over time. And I think the other thing is people create networks. The networks you have are like, imagine this, you go to a whiskey distillery to learn about the business model / have a little taste of whiskey. And that's a really cool cultural thing. And that's a very like Scottish thing as well. And then you've got Amazon, you know, and I still draw on those experiences. And that's kind of like, I keep coming back to the people, the feeling. Shout out to Professor Fishbacker Smith. He is a martial arts black belt. He's a professor. He's got a degree in education, and he's got multiple papers. So yeah, all of that combined is the secret sauce to Glasgow MBA.
Great, thank you, Claire. And Esther, did you want to come back in?
Yeah, just two important things probably that was important for me. So one is the people, and not just in the university, but in Scotland. Scottish people are really nice, really friendly and supportive. So people who never been in the UK and came here to study, like me, can enjoy a great support from locals. And the location, Glasgow located in the heart of Scotland. So if you like walking, hiking, or just like being in a beautiful green environment, you can do that in every weekend, because it's only 30, 60 minutes and you can be in the mountains. It's called Mount Roos here. So it's a great location. You can spend really good, valuable time, enjoy a healthy lifestyle outside the university. And the second thing, which I think it's really unique, the peer support. I know other MBA programs, I know people from other universities where people really compete each other in the MBA program and never really build a good relationship with each other. But in Glasgow, at the Glasgow University, you will build a good relationship. You will have the chance to build a good relationship with your classmates, and it's a lifelong thing, friendship, great support. you can learn so much from each other, learning from different countries, industries, different markets. It's really good for people who came here all over the world.
Great, thank you very much, Esther. And maybe, Zornitsa, I know you're monitoring the Q&A in the chat. Do you want to pick out some of the questions that we've had and we can take some of those?
Yeah, actually, we received several questions. One of them is about the consultancy week. Would you please tell us more about it and how does it benefit the future career of the students?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll start with that. And then if anyone in the panel wants to come in and share your own experiences of that. Every year we have different clients that come to the school looking for that kind of consultancy input. So it's difficult to say exactly who you will get. And I think someone asked about like NGOs. We have had for a number of years, like a UK government department, the Department for International Development, that's part of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office now, provide a project. So that kind of is one that's interesting. But generally speaking, they come from a wide variety of different sectors. Just off the top of my head, we've from small startups to whiskey manufacturers to fintech, a wide variety, and banking and finance of clients. And the idea is that people then have a choice. So you can kind of select up to 3. This is the way it's working now. It might not have been the same when all of the alumni were doing the projects, but people can bid for kind of up to 3 projects, and then they will get allocated to a team based around those briefs that interested them most. So there is an element of sort of tailoring the project that you want to work on towards your interests in your career. And I think it can be beneficial because having those couple of weeks of really intensive consulting experience, at the end of which you produce a report and you do a presentation to your client, is something that, I mean, Daniel went through a lot of interviews you've interviewed people as a consultant. So you know the kind of things that people will expect to demonstrate. And I guess that kind of skill set is helpful. But anyone, Daniel or anybody else, how did you find the consulting projects and how did it help you in your career?
Yeah, so starting off, we had a small company. It was based in Glasgow that dealt in the GCC countries in the Middle East, and what they were looking for is how can they expand, how can they develop their business into different countries. It's very tight regulations. It's all about networking out there. So actually working with the client, learning about their business, looking at the market attractiveness for the countries that they targeted. What are their capabilities, the finances available to them, and then the potential revenues that they could generate, and then pulling all that together, developing a go-to strategy for them in a very short period of time as well. Was going into consulting interviews, it's a perfect setup that you'll get. We had a bit more time than you have in an interview, of course, but actually, working as a team, trying to pull all the different parts together in such a short space of time really set us up, and it set me up for interviews going into them. You can feel a lot more confident without a doubt.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to reflect on the consulting experience?
There is actually one question related to this one. What kind of companies or organizations are you collaborating with regard to the hands-on experiences and the consultancy week? Are there opportunities to work on projects with non-governmental organizations?
Yeah,
because
so
I think so far you mentioned for-profit companies. Is there opportunity to work with non-profits as well?
There are those opportunities, including, I would say, and this is the thing that's different this year, is the industry pathway on the MBA. So to do a long project over the summer, there are no restrictions on the type of organizations that we can work with. And one of the things that we do is, with my colleague, who's our business development manager, we try to find the projects that match some of the things that our students tell us they're looking for. So we can't guarantee that there is an element of competition, but this year we've got about 25 plus students doing an industry pathway project with a live client, and that can be shaped to a certain extent on, again, people's interests. So definitely we work with a wide variety of for-profit and not-for-profit organizations. And one of the things we'll do is ask students when they start what their interests are, so we can get a steer from each cohort, which is always different depending on who's in the class. Anyone else in the alumni want to come back in on working with businesses as part of the program and your own reflections on that?
All right, I can come in, David.
Yeah.
Okay, so my experience with Consultancy Week was, at the time, I didn't love it. However, why didn't I love it? Because we had different people. You learn more about yourself in Consultancy Week, and I'm thinking you're all going to agree with me here, because you have different team members. You're going to have those team members in every workplace. So whatever issues or whatever things that arise, like maybe you see one strategy, they see another, it's like negotiation, it's working in teams, it's working with an external environment, presenting yourself as a team, and you learn a lot about professional development, you know, what other problems are in businesses. You know, there's no golden ticket. You know, it's usually across all the sectors. So my real like evidence of the Consultancy Week was, at the time, I honestly didn't love it. However, I still think about it. Honestly, it was actually a really good learning experience. And whatever you probably didn't excel in, whether it was communication skills, whether it was bringing the most information to the table, you learn, you do reflective practice, and you learn to hone in those skills. So I actually think it's brilliant from that perspective. Don't know what everyone else thinks.
Thanks, Claire. Daniel?
Yeah, just to touch on that. So when the groups are selected, it's all random, completely random. So, you know, you're not going to be with your closest friends. You might not be with the smartest in the class. But what that does is it simulates that if you go for an assessment centre, perhaps in an interview, or once you actually land a job, then, you know, you could be in a team with anyone, you know, all different levels of intelligence, you know, language skills, you know, backgrounds. I work with people in water just now, and they have backgrounds in, you know, all sorts of areas, finance, even some of them. So you can see it's, you know, it's pulling everyone together and then making it work as a team to deliver for the client.
That's great. Thanks, Daniel. I can see there are some questions about things like language requirements and scholarships. Mary, was there anything you wanted to come in on? What I was going to say is just if anybody has a specific question about, you know, a language score or a scholarship application, please do email us at the address that we gave on the slides or on our website. Just if you go on the Glasgow MBA website, and you'll get a quick response from the team about your individual circumstances. But certainly we are still accepting applications for scholarships at this moment as well. So if you do still want to apply as an international applicant, there are scholarships. Mary, anything else you wanted to say on that?
No, I've posted the email address in the chat there, because as you say, it's best that we look at the individual circumstances, and the admissions officers would be best to advise on those kinds of questions, but we'll get an answer to you very quickly.
Okay. There's a question about pre-MBA reading, and I think we will provide more guidance on that over the next few weeks. We don't really require too much pre-work, because we don't want people to, you know, start working on the actual course material until the lecturer kind of releases it. But there is some pre-reading lists that we will circulate. Maybe what we could do is just talk a little bit about working in the UK as an international graduate. There's been a question about that, or a couple of questions. And I know we've got a mix of people that had like permanent residency or were able to work in the UK, and international who were looking for sponsorship. The situation has changed over the last year, so that to answer that question, it's certainly possible to apply for the graduate visa in the UK and stay for 2 years without having to be sponsored. by a company now. That is a benefit of coming to the UK over the last year that's in place. But would any of the international students want to share their view about looking at the UK job market as an international applicant? How did you find that? Or any tips for international applicants?
I can jump in if you like.
Yeah, Claire and then Esther, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually think what you should do is, what sector do you want to be in? Find the best or the top 3 recruiters in that sector, and actually just ring them up, say, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. What advice would you give these people, these recruiters? For example, I have really good relationships with 2 recruiters. I will always ring them if I'm looking for people, you know, and you never know who's on their books. And I think just using that network, having a look at trends in your industry as well. So what are the top 3 companies that you want to work for? Or maybe you don't want to work for a big corp. Do you always have to do corporations? You could do startups, you could do scale ups, and have a look at the jobs that they're posting while you're doing the MBA, because that shows the strategy of the company as well. So I would definitely be looking at that. And I would also just network is everything, you know, go to these networking events. I didn't love standing around going, hi, but you know what? Go there, stay longer. You want to go, you're like, right, I've met 3 people, I can go. No, take a risk, stay there, be the last person in the room. If you drink, don't drink too much, just 1 or 2 to be nice and social. And then, you know, you've got your network, you've got your recruiters, you're looking at the trends and you're saying, right, what's the jobs? Where's the strategy? That's me. I want to get to know those people.
Great advice. Thank you, Claire. Okay, any other observations on the job market? Or Esther, do you want to come back in?
Yes, thank you, David. Yeah, so my advice is everyone who wants to find a job in the UK and came from different countries, do your research very early, because companies here, I'm from Eastern Europe, so companies may require different qualification, different skill sets to do the same job here. So you need to understand the requirements, what type of person they are looking for. Do your research, prepare yourself, and be really active online. So in Hungary, we are not really into LinkedIn, but here in the UK, companies use very heavily LinkedIn. So I would recommend to build your profile on LinkedIn, be active, follow the companies you are interested to work for, try to contact with recruiters, HR people from the companies, ask them, let them know you are interested. So start building your relationship online. I think you can get some support from David and the MBA team to build a good online profile on LinkedIn. Use keywords and those things, and they can advise you how you can use effectively the online world to find jobs. Yeah, it's probably that would be my advice.
Great, thank you, Esther. Daniel, did you want to come back?
Yeah, I think it's important to mention as well, you know, use the year that you're going to be studying to really fine tune your CV. So once you identify, you know, industries or companies that you want to apply for, you know, get your CV in early. You know, there's nothing wrong with submitting 4, 5, 6 months before and just making it clear that you are studying, but you are interested in interviewing for a position once you graduate. You know, put down really great examples of your experience, very succinct, to the point. Try and keep it to 1 page for some companies. You know, I've applied for companies in, you know, 2 or 3 pages and you don't get a word back. You know, highlight areas where you've maybe saved costs for your company. or generated revenues streams, regardless of how much it may be. Highlight the sizes of teams that you've worked in or you've led. What did they deliver, and any sort of positive results from the work, and use the time to really do that, because for a lot of these companies, when you apply, that's the first time they're ever going to see you or hear of you, and you want to make it count.
That's great. Thank you, Daniel. I know we're coming towards the end of our time. A couple of final points. I think people are asking like when to or try to come to Scotland and to Glasgow, and how are we going to be teaching? And I think the answer to that is we very much hope and expect that we'll be fully on campus, and we very much hope that people will be able to travel to Scotland and join us for September. So I think my advice is to start planning as early as you can. And I know it can be challenging to get accommodation in Glasgow. It has been challenging. Hopefully it's settling down a bit. The last couple of years has been quite tough, but please do again contact us if you need any help with where to look. But start early. We will have other webinars coming up, Mary, as well over the summer. So although this was a short 1 hour today, there will be other opportunities to interact with us. But Zornitsa, was there anything you wanted to say, or Mary, to conclude?
I'm just going to post the link to where we have the details of all the webinars, that you can join them, and there'll be more added to those to that site as we go. And to any offer holders who are here, we'll always email you to let you know of any upcoming webinars as well.
That's fantastic. Well, maybe just from my point of view, thank you very much for, first of all, our alumni panel for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate you giving your time and coming to help and support the Glasgow MBA. So thank you again for that. And thanks to everybody that's joined us for this session today. A pleasure to see you all, and let's keep in touch. Zornitsa, over to you.
Yeah, thanks on my end as well for the questions and the answers. Thanks, Mary, David, Daniel, Esther, Claire, and Snow. It was really nice to see you, to meet you, and to hear your insights. We learned that the Glasgow MBA provides indeed an opportunity to transform your future. So make the maximum of it. And yeah, if you have any questions, you have seen the email of the admissions team where you can send them and receive an answer. So yeah, thanks a lot, and I wish everyone a lot of luck and hope to see you soon.